Hey, it's Jeff Sauer here, agencycourse.com, jefflytics.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to get your first 10 clients as a consultant, freelancer, or an agency owner. Now I'm going to start with sharing my own story about how I became a freelancer and how I found my first 10 clients. Now, this is one of those things where I was gainfully employed at a job. Well, I'm not sure about the gainfully part. I actually was making just enough money to get by and maybe a little bit less than that. So I accrued a lot of credit card debt and I didn't really have a lot going for me at my job. And so I was depressed. Things weren't really going that well for me. But then I got lucky and I had somebody reach out to me and ask if I could help them develop a website. And I think I was doing a website for them for maybe 25 bucks an hour. And it wasn't enough to pay down my credit card debt, but it was enough to be occupied and be busy and have something to look forward to. And this person basically ended up giving me lots of work. And then they told their friends. So that first client ended up becoming the first 3 websites that I did, and actually the first 3 paychecks I got as a freelancer. And I was like, okay, well, what else can I do here? What else can happen? And so I started telling everybody that I know about how excited I was to work on developing websites for people, how cool it was that I was able to get search engine results, how cool it was that I could create a database-driven website, which was pretty novel back then, and actually put something on the internet that people wanted to see. Not just people, but search engines too. It was really exciting for me, so I told everybody that would listen about that success, about those stories, and it sort of became one of those things where I was almost insufferable. I was talking so much about how cool search engines were. But it started to work. People started to take notice. My friends would tell their friends that I was great at getting search engine results, even though I'd only done it a couple times, and that if they wanted to, I could work on their website. So I basically started doing website design for people on the side. I did as many gigs as I could get. 1 gig became 2 gigs, became 3 gigs, and soon I had other gigs doing other stuff. I was doing websites for restaurants, for home improvement companies, basically anybody who would listen, and eventually I had 5 to 10 clients that were paying me a good amount of money, enough money that I was pretty confident that I could quit my job and do this full time. And so it was about a 3 to 6 month process from the first time that I took on a client to when I got the confidence to think, oh, I might be able to do this full time. And then another 6 months of planning after that before I finally pulled the trigger, before I finally went in and talked to my boss and said, hey, I'm done, I'm leaving. And the funny thing is that I thought that the boss would be really upset. And he's like, no, this is great. I'm so excited for you. Sounds like you've thought this through. Sounds like you have a lot of momentum. In fact, I would like to have you be a contract. And so I'd like to have you keep your job, work a little bit less hours, but still get paid the same rate you're getting paid. And you can work from home. And basically you can work for us for another 6 months, work from home, and have none of the stress of going into the job. And you can do what this is worth. And so that's really how it ended up happening with me to get my first 10 clients. Basically, I just kept on working hard, kept on telling everybody that I knew that I was open for business. And eventually people started to take notice, and eventually people started wanting to help me out. They started to tell people that I was open for business. They started to believe the results that I was generating. I started to believe the results that I was generating, which is really funny because at first I was like, yeah, I think that I know what I'm doing. But then eventually you do it enough times and you start to believe it. And when you start to believe it, people want to work with you. People want to work with you all the time. And so soon it went from, pretty desperate to get out of debt to try to find whatever client I could get, that I had my pick of the clients. And it really didn't take that long in the scheme of things. It took me probably a year to get on my feet. And then within the first year after that, I had blown away the income I had ever made at my salaried position. And all my debt was gone too. So things went really well. And I want to talk about how you can do this for yourself. The first thing is that it all starts with getting one client. You really just need one client to get started. And once you have that client, you can start to declare that you're open for business, like I did. You can say, hey, I'm open for business and I'm starting to get results. Talk about it. Talk about it with everybody that you can talk to. Share it on your LinkedIn. Share it on your Facebook. Let people know that you are open for business. And what you're really doing then is you're putting yourself out there. You're telling people that you are open for business, that you are ready to go, and that you want to take on whatever project you want to take on. Now, some people, maybe you're comfortable with your job or you're friends with your coworkers on Facebook. You don't want to publish that on Facebook. But others, maybe you can. Or maybe you can just tell people at happy hours or gatherings or at family events that you are open for business. That's what I ended up doing, and it worked really well. Just telling everybody that I knew in person, one-to-one, hey, this is what I do, and this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my career. That was enough for me to get going, for me to start turning that one client into multiple clients. Another trick is to look for somebody that's called an anchor client. An anchor client is somebody who you work with or somebody who you've worked with in the past who's willing to take a chance on you and give you somewhere between 80 to 100% of your target income, but only make you work about 50% of the time. And so instead of having to work full time, you can do it in half the time and have a lot more free time to focus on what's next, which is growing your business and getting past one client and having your first 10 clients. Now, while you're doing this, treat each opportunity as a unique experience. Each unique experience molds you. It's what makes you who you are when you're in business. And so if you take experience working on a website in one case, or doing a search program, or editing a blog, every one of those projects that you can do that somebody pays you for is an experience that you can learn from. Some of these things you're going to find you don't like doing them. They're not right for you. And other ones you're going to find might be your calling. You need to work on several projects to really understand where things are going and where you want to take it. And while you're doing that, what you're really doing is you're developing and building relationships. You really want to build relationships. You want to build your relationship skills so that people know who you are and they know that they can rely on you. They know they can count on you, and they know that you're passionate about what you do and that you can deliver the goods, that you can deliver the results. And so it's all about building relationships. You don't need to maximize revenue in the short term because honestly, it's probably not going to be that much money anyway. The revenue will come over time and it will be significantly more valuable than anything you can do when you're first getting started, when you're trying to get your first 10 clients. And honestly, it's a lot easier to get clients when you're cheap. So if you're not charging that much, it's a lot easier to get clients than if you start out charging way too much money. So think of it this way. You want to play the long game. You want to grow your skills, you want to grow your experience, you want to get to the point where everybody loves working with you. Your first client becomes a third client, who becomes a seventh client, and eventually, suddenly, before you know it, you have 10 clients that you've worked with, and you have 10 experiences that you can draw upon in your business. And then once you reach 10 clients, you can start to draw patterns between what you like in business and what you don't like in business. You can start to connect the dots. You can start to say, I'll never do this again. Or you can start to say, I think this is going to work out really well for me. And then you can say, I'm drawing the line here. These are the only projects that I'm going to take on moving forward. This is my niche. You can niche down as a result of these 10 client experiences. And then you can start to charge more. You can build out a real business. And your first 10 clients are going to tell you a lot about where that business is going to go. So make sure that you're patient as you go through this. Be patient with what you do. Play the long game. And just remember, you're going to be there soon enough. You're going to have plenty of time to grow in the future. There always feels like a lot of urgency when you start your business, and I know there is because you think that it's not going to work out. But if you stick with it and you follow these tips, and you can get to the point where you have 10 clients, even if they're not paying you all kinds of money, and you're just getting experience, you're just building relationships, it is going to work out in the end. That's what you need to do. You need to get out there and you need to go and find that first client and then parlay that into your next 10. So I'm curious, if you like this message, tell me where you're at in your business. Leave a comment on this video on YouTube or on our blog, and I'd love to hear from you about where you're at in your journey. And also, if you like this video, be sure to check out the first video from the series where we talk about crushing the one mental barrier before you do anything else. If you have imposter syndrome in your business, if you don't think you're good enough, you don't have the skills, you're not sure if things are going to work out, make sure you watch the previous video, which we'll link to in our video notes, and you can see exactly what you need to do to crush that mental barrier. And you can even hear my story about how I got through it myself. And finally, if you like this video, subscribe to our Sage newsletter at agencycourse.com. We have another video coming at you tomorrow, and our next agency video will come at you next Friday. See you then.